Hey guys, Scott Reese here with the Plow Zone Video Show on Roku TV on Otel Music Videos, and we got a great interview right now. We got John Bush from the band Armored Saint. Here we go. Let's check it out.
When we really became a band. One was 81, at the end of 81, the fall, when we actually started going into Dave Pritchard and Gonzo and Phil's garages and started kind of jamming, writing songs and playing some covers. And then I always say, well, maybe when Joey really came into the band and that kind of officially made the group, in my opinion, maybe that was when we started, and that was May of 83. We had already done some shows with the previous bass player. And then there's the argument that it could be when we put out our first EP. The EP came out in 83, and it came out in August, actually. So the EP was already out by then, actually. Right. Whatever. I mean, this is stuff I toil with, as far as what's the official time when we really kind of got together. But by September 83, we did have the EP out by then. So we were definitely starting to make some ground at that point.
Definitely. Yeah. I just remember, you see a band and you're like, man, these guys are kick ass. I really like them. And then you hear the evolution and then you guys broke up for a little bit, went into Anthrax, which I thought was very cool. And then you guys got all back together. And here you are, 2026, with a new album, Emotion Factory Reset. My first question usually is, how did you guys come up with your band name?
Well, Gonzo gets all the credit for that. We were like going to see Excalibur as a group of guys and a bunch of friends, and got stoned, and we were going to be freaked out on this awesome epic movie. And we watched it, and then we came out, and we were still again, I don't remember when that was in the band's in our time frame, should I say. But at that point, we were probably somewhat of a band, making some songs, writing some tunes, and but not officially, because Gonzo suggested the band name, and he came up with Armored Saint. And we as a group kind of like said, it sucks. And he was like, why? And he's like, that's stupid, whatever, blah blah blah. I don't know, we were probably just busting his balls. But he kept hammering it back on Armored Saint, Armored Saint, Armored Saint. And we're like, all right, sounds metal, maybe it works, it has a lot of cool imagery, I guess. So, and we were really into Excalibur, blown away by that movie. And we were very into the Road Warrior. Those are the movies that kind of shaped our life, along with Animal House and a lot of comedy at that time. But so it was like, all right, let's do it. And then we kind of started incorporating the look, because we were like, well, we don't want to look like everyone else, and we kind of did. Not that the armor was really that much of a stretch, because we were still wearing leather stuff, but we were incorporating some things. That I got this costume that was from the Western Costume, which is a big studio prop place that provides stuff for the movies. And I was just reading an article about them the other day. I was laughing. And with I think my thing was from the Beastmaster, the movie The Beastmaster. Tell me if you could hear these emails coming.
Yes.
You can't hear them. I'm so sorry. Let me do something here real quick.
That's right.
So sorry. You know what?
I thought it was your fire alarm.
No, that's annoying. And I'm so sorry. Here, let me quit my mail here. Here, hold on a minute. God, that's obnoxious. So sorry. All right.
No problem.
So in any case, then we wore that stuff, and then that eventually got tiresome, because I remember we saw an article. It was from an article in some fanzine in the Bay Area, and they were like, they look like Planet of the Apes, which actually should have been a compliment, really, because we love Planet of the Apes. But we were like, yeah, that's not good. So anyways, whatever. It's part of our history.
Nice. So Emotion Factory Reset, how long did it take you guys to come up with the concept, or to come up, hey, we're going to record a new album?
We knew it was time. And the last record was Punch in the Sky. It came out in 2020, and that was during COVID. And And so that kind of jacked up everything for every band, obviously for every person. But we knew that 6 years is a long time, especially even for Armored Saint. We usually kind of go on every 5-year intervals of making records, which is still too long, especially for a bunch of guys in their 60s. I should be a little more frequent. But the reality is we actually did a lot of touring, and a couple years after the record was released. So we went on 2 tours with Wasp. We did a tour of Queensryche, went to Europe. So we were busy, and trying to write while you're on the road, and it just doesn't, I don't know, it just never really works. I mean, you can have some ideas and you can try to maybe piecemeal some stuff together, but as far as I'm concerned, we just never really were that productive. It's hard, you're playing,
Right.
you're doing interviews, and you're trying to sleep, and you're traveling every day. And for me on the road, sometimes the last thing I want to even do is listen to music because my ears are just pummeled every night, right? So whatever. But we knew it was time, and we just, got back into the rehearsal mode and creative mode, and started creating songs. And it took a little time, as it usually does for us, but the songs are great. So
I really like, I think it's very guitar oriented. I mean, like I like the guitar, a lot of guitar in there. And I saw that Gonzo went to 606 Studios and did the drums.
Yeah,
on the
awesome.
Neve.
Yeah,
that is
great. We actually recorded on that board when it was at Sound City in 1987. We made Raising Fear on that board, so it was really cool to kind of go back to that, and just to be in the Foo Fighters place was, it's an amazing place. So we were stoked to do the drums there, and Armored Saint is a shredding band. We try to always kind of elaborate on our sound, and of course we're proud of our heavy metal roots, but we just kind of always are pushing the boundaries of what we can do musically and vocally and arrangement wise, and kind of just feel like the boundaries are limitless. And at the end of the day, it's still a hard rock heavy metal band. I'm not trying to suggest that we're anything more than that, and we're pleased to be that. But we always want to kind of push the boundaries of songwriting and lyrical content, whatever. I never really want to feel kind of, maybe somebody would take this as offensively, but I don't want to feel trapped by the heavy metal name.
Right.
I want to be able to do anything I want. And then it's always, if it's these guys, it's going to come out sounding like Armored Saint. It's just the way it is. So.
Right. Well, you have songs that sound, a little different. You got like Compromise is a more, I feel like a little different feel to it. Rush or something, a little something like that. And then you got Bottom Feeder, I really like. Close to the Bone. Now, what is that song?
Close to the Bone was we started working on it, and it seemed like the obvious first song of the record. It just felt like that. It's like, if we're going to reintroduce the band to the world, this seems like the perfect song to do it. It was a lyrical idea. It was Tracy, Joey's wife, who is the head of president of Metal Blade Records, which is our company. She was like going, Joey holds stuff too close to the bone, because we were having a conversation, probably just over dinner one night, shooting the breeze. And, she knows so much about her husband. And, Joey's basically the leader of Armored Saint. And, she was saying, he's just, he holds stuff too close to the bone. I think she was kind of alluding to, he just keeps a lot in, even though he's a guy who wears many hats for Armored Saint, as sometimes the manager and the producer and the accountant, and that's just probably why he's grumpy a lot of the time, because it's a pain in the butt. But he's a controlling guy, and I think that's the personality you kind of have to have when you're that, right? So so we were laughing about it, and she kept saying, and then he kept saying, and I was like, well, let's use this as a title. So I ran with it, and I kind of try to expand lyrically on that, just to try to say, like, working with people, functioning with people. This is what we're challenged with as humans, and sometimes those are relationships that ones you don't really like. Like you might work with people. How many people work with people that they can't stand, right? So I
True.
mean, it's just a fact, right? So how do you do that? How do you make that happen without like punching somebody or screaming at them or feeling sheepish, you know, with what their responses are to you, or you know, how do you deal with this? This is like a internal little struggle. Like how do you do that? And so that because I was trying to expand on what she was saying, and yeah, so you know, like again, I like doing stuff like that with lyrics and kind of just raising questions, if you will.
Playing with words. What about hit a moonshot? What does that mean?
Or Hit a Moonshot is the second video because Bone was
Right.
first.
I saw it. Very
Cool,
cool.
really cool video.
You did
Yeah.
a little acting in
Oh
there.
yeah. You know, a little acting, a little stunt stuff. It was fun. It's a great tune. It's, you know, again, it sounds like vintage Saint, but yet modern at the same time. Um, you know, I'm a big sports fan, of course. So, you know, I try to sometimes apply these terms and hit a moonshot. You know, moonshot is, you know, could be equated with a baseball home run. So
Home run. Okay.
I thought it was kind of cool to, you know, take that idea and we just made these little bats, which are really cool. They were
Oh,
sending these
cool.
radio down their pens. We, you know, the idea of somebody who feels like they're constantly hitting a moonshot and bragging about it, and you know, no matter what they do in life, no matter what kind of precarious positions they find themselves in, they continue to like flourish, you know. And you know, whatever, I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but I know probably many people I could put in that position. But you know, ones where you're like scratching your head going, man, this prick, you know, is like no matter what, they just fall on their feet, you know, and like a cat. And I don't know. So it's like I was kind of trying to play a little sarcastically with that bravado of somebody just going, I hit a moonshot. I'm always hitting home runs, no matter what, you know. And you know, but of course I add my sarcasm to it with it's just not like, you know, kind of like a this kind of feeling from as me as a writer of like, man, you know, I can't believe you can do that, and you really annoy me, and yeah, you do it, and I have to give you some props, but you piss me off. So that's kind of like the basic.
There it is. Okay. Nice. So I heard you guys going out on tour here coming up.
Yeah, we just announced something yesterday with Metal
Saw
Church,
that.
which would be great. They're an awesome band and been around as long as we have, and you know, can kind of cut from the same cloth. Both came out in the '80s. You know, classic metal bands. You know, they have a new record too. They got Dave Ellison and the group,
Yep.
and he's a buddy of mine. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I mean, you know, two classic metal bands, and I mean, why wouldn't you go to that show if you like metal? If you're 15 to 65, you know, or you could be younger or older than that, but you know, come on, it's like these are. I mean, the first Metal Church album is an awesome record. You know, it's just
Definitely.
a record. And I mean, we did some dates with them before when Mike Howe was in the band. And Mike, we missed Mike. He was an awesome guy. And it's a bummer. You know, I feel horrible about that situation, but we have good memories with Mike. And now they have a new singer and he's killing it. And, you know, and they carry on. Their band actually just keeps on slamming no matter what. And I got to give Kurt a lot of credit for that. So, it should be a lot of fun. It'll be a good tour. And we're only playing. There's been a lot of complaining already, of course, that we're not doing a full tour. And the reason is because Metal Church is already committed to playing some shows in the Midwest and the East Coast. They had already booked it. So we didn't want to go right back to those territories since will have already just played. You need a little time to, you know.
Recover nowadays.
What's that?
Recover.
Well, not only that, it's just like, you know, it's hard to ask people, hey, you just saw us, you know, 2 months ago. Now we're going to ask you to pay again to come see us again. Like,
Got it.
I think, you know, you want to give them a little time to ask for people's money because that's what it really comes down to, even if you have Armored Saint with you. So, you know, and so that was the reason that we kind of concentrated on the western half of the U.S. So again, a lot of people were, why aren't you coming to New York? And it's like, well, because Metal Church is already playing this area.
Right.
So
don't want to oversaturate.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, a lot of people do that. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people make a living touring, and I get it, you know, of course. But you can, you know, you can overplay, in my opinion. And then it's a lot to ask of people to say, hey, we're back, pay some money, come see you do a VIP, buy some merch, buy the record, buy a ticket.
Right.
You know, it's like, hey, well, I want to see this other band. They're coming through town. I got to pay that for them. So I know I'm a consumer too, you know, so
Agreed.
there's a lot of bands I want to see. So it's tough. So you gotta just be strategic in the way you do it.
Definitely. Okay. How has touring changed since you first started?
Well, buses are more expensive. Fuel right now is crazy expensive. So, you know, for us, we've always been kind of a mid-tier group. So usually it hasn't changed all that much. I mean, our first tour that we ever did, Armored Saint, opening for Quiet Riot and Whitesnake in 1984, we were actually in rent-a-cars. We had like 2 rent-a-cars, and then the crew was in a truck, Ryder truck. And so we were driving around the country like that, which is pretty funny. Then we finally got a bus, and we're like, all right, we got a bus. And I don't want to tour without a bus, although we have done a couple van tours and they were pretty rough. But in the end, you know, we usually travel with the band and crew, so it's kind of the same. You know, we're all veterans, so we kind of try to find our way to give each other kind of solitude, because you're living with like 10 other dudes, and it's a challenge. But that's not different than it was in 1984, 85. But I just think things are different now. Things are more expensive, but you know, inflation is a factor, of course, and all that. But yeah, it's I think it's
Still fun. You're obviously you're still enjoying it.
It is fun for the most part. You know, the best part is the show, of course, in my opinion. You know, the other 22 and a half hours of the days, you know, gets a little
long.
It's a little bit, you know, much sometimes. I'm sure I can speak for all musicians, but again, you find your way. Excuse me. You know, depending on the city you're in, maybe you go check out some sites, or hopefully at least find a cool coffee shop you can go to. So, you know, whatever. I mean, it's always great to go to new territories in the world. I mean, I always say that rock and roll has kind of been my college education, because I didn't go to college. And so we started touring when we were 21 years old. So for me, it's been eye-opening to travel the world, and I feel very fortunate that I've been able to do that, because it's educated me. So that part is incredible.
Got it. All right. A friend of mine, a guitar player, told me this, and it really made a lot of sense to me. It's called BISC, BISC. Borrow, imitate, steal, or copy. I think we all do that. You know, in our life, we see a band, we're like, oh my God, I'm gonna borrow that. So what would you think would be your BISC?
Did he make this up, or did he read this somewhere?
Someone told him when I interviewed him, he told it to me, and I'm thinking, you know, that is really
that's funny.
That's
I've
pretty
never
much
heard
how
that. Never heard that.
Yeah, BISC, borrow, imitate, steal, or copy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's all of it, right? It's all of
Agreed.
it. Even Mick Jagger, when the comment what he made one time is "nothing's new under the sun," right? Something like that. So, and that he's the Stones, you know, but they would copy a lot of people, right? For sure. So I think the key is, my opinion, is take a lot of influences, you know, because you're going to, but take a lot of them, and from different sources, different types of music. You know, it doesn't even have to be music. It could be something artistic, whatever. Take it all, and then, you know, churn it in your stomach. And then when you regurgitate, not to be too visual about it, but then hopefully that, with your personality of who you are, will give it uniqueness. So I think that's to me is what you strive for, because all of that's super true. Whoever he is, he's very insightful with that, because you are. Okay, well, you're always doing that. You are borrowing. You are
imitating,
for sure. You know, your steal. You know, everyone does a little bit, right? And so you are doing that. It's very true. All of that. So it's just about, you know, the last thing you want to do is be blatant about things, because then.
Agreed.
You know, because then you're stealing from somebody.
Now you're stealing with malice.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that by listening lots of stuff, because look at, you know, say you're a heavy metal musician, but all you listen to is metal, somehow, some way, you're just going to just naturally probably really imitate all that stuff. So if you pull in some like, R&B or some jazz or some bluegrass or maybe some like African, indigenous music, and
Right.
pull that in, all of that, and listen, and then let that all kind of stew into you, then maybe you won't be as blatant with it. So I think that's the key. Some people ask me, what would I suggest to a budding musician? That's what I say is just make sure you listen to lots of music. You want to play metal? Great. But listen to lots of music. It's really imperative.
Definitely, definitely. All right. What keeps you inspired?
Every day, waking up, seeing the world, my family, music, anything artistic, some cool movie, TV shows, a great book, conversations with friends, laughter, humor, very, very important. Just trying to embrace the world as such things also piss me off and annoy me. So those combinations hopefully is good fodder for songwriting.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's where you get your songs, your emotions, your love, your hate. I guess it all
Yeah,
comes out through your music.
absolutely. So you want to use all that to use as a bisque. If I don't know if it's a verb or what is an adjective, but yeah, all that you want to use for motivation for songwriting, and I think all artists have done that. Of course, some people get more definitive with world events. I kind of this is a politically very, very dodgy time, and not only in America
Definitely.
but everywhere. And I don't want to necessarily tell people what to think because I may change my mind about something, and that's my prerogative. So, I wish people would change their mind about more things, to be honest.
Agreed. Open up
But
your mind a little bit.
right,
Definitely.
but I'm not going to tell people you need to think this way. It's more like think about this, and sometimes I try to do that in subliminal messages.
Nice, nice. So you guys are going out on tour coming up. How do you guys work out your set list? Yeah, how many new songs are going to be using off the new album,
Yeah, I mean,
Emotion Factory Reset?
it was up to me. I'd play half the album, but it's just probably not realistic. But for sure, I want to play several songs live, especially if we're doing like a headline set. And with Metal Church as a co-headline, we're doing some dates in Europe late July into August, and we're going to be supporting on that. So maybe not as many then. However, yeah, I mean, I'm the guy who usually creates a set list with, of course,
Okay.
input from others, but and I'm I'm sometimes tinkering with it daily, which it could be annoying to some other band members sometimes. But to me, we have a lot of a history. We have a lot of music to choose from. We have a lot big discography, and to me to not play stuff from all these records and to kind of mix and match to me it would be a waste because there's a lot of cool songs there throughout. So I try to kind of do it within reason. You do get a groove when you're on tour of certain
Right.
sets, so you don't want to change it up so much where you lose the groove. But at the same time, I think bands that play the same set every night is lame. That's my personal opinion. So.
Right. If they change it up
No, if
or
they
just
play it
keep it the
every night,
same.
it's the
The
same
same.
set. I think worldwide. I think especially with Setlist FM, which is a website you can go to now, you can find somebody's set the next an hour after it's done. So if you look and you're excited about a band and you're looking at their set list from various places and it's the same exact set list, to me that's kind of like, I don't know. You already know. It's not like this is
Yeah.
1985 and you were kind of hearing rumors about what the set
Right.
was from people. You can actually see what it is. So you kind
Yeah,
of
within an hour, right?
find it.
There it
So I
is.
think it kind of eliminates the surprise of it to some degree. So I think I always want to kind of challenge people. I look at it. I consult Setlist FM. I think it's a cool thing, and I don't know how accurate it is. Sometimes it could probably be inaccurate, but if we played a certain song consistently in this territory, I'd be like, let's change that song then, so people can go, oh, they play something else. I don't know. To me, that's important.
Definitely, definitely. All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the Plow Zone video show on Roku TV. John Bush, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys come through California area, and good luck on your tour with Metal Church and your new kick-ass album, Emotion Factory Reset. I want to thank you very much, John.
Thank you, brother. Good interview. It was a lot of fun. Nice questions. We're also playing the Milwaukee Metal Fest next weekend. So if anybody's in the Midwest, they've got to come. It'll be a lot of fun. So
perfect. Thank you, John Bush.
All right, dude.
Armored Saint. Thank you, my friend.
Have a great week. We'll see you in the Bay Area.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.